You are listening to the CADDle Call podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The CADDle Call podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the CADDle Call podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, your guy for technology stuff, and with me, as always, is my partner.
The other guy with the technology stuff, Rocco.
Oh, I don't want to know what kind of technology people wind up when you start playing with that. We keep Rocco far away from the technology stuff. Which is maybe not smart for me because I just leave him in charge of all the money, and he's really way wealthier than I am, which I don't think is fair, but I let it go because he's an awesome guy, so it's all good. All right.
Like you don't need money.
Yeah, money's overrated. At least that's what Rocco tells me every week when it's pay time. So, all right. So today, I want to get into talking a little bit about a topic we're going to call understanding the new world of construction software. And what do we mean by that? So, for decades now, construction has been lagging behind their design counterparts, I guess, when it comes to technology use, right? Particularly in the software arena. They do some stuff with the hardware stuff, but in software they've definitely been behind. And now, part of that early on were the physical limitations, I think, on what equipment you had available in the field and how effectively you could use it on a dirty, muddy construction site. But I think that's been dramatically changing over the last 5 years or so, I'll say. We've seen a massive boom in the software industry for the construction market. And I think a lot of that has to do with two specific changes. First, I think, the affordability and the durability of like work-ready tablets and sturdy 2-in-1s for field use has really come into its own, right? Which means that software systems for construction are much more accessible where they need to be, which is out in the field. And second, I think the worker shortages that are plaguing the construction industry as more and more of our best people, are aging out and retiring. It has really driven home the need to be able to, do more with fewer people and better information, right? I guess it's another case of, necessity being the mother of invention. Software was ignored, right, when we had experienced bodies to throw at the problems on our jobs. But without those people, we need to turn to technology to kind of fill that gap. So the new systems, right, of course, are popping up all over the place, and it's causing a lot of confusion and misunderstanding about the types of software solutions available. I see just a lot of folks in the construction space who are, confusing project management system with ERPs and clash detection with variance reporting and so on. There's this massive new or this influx of new technology is muddying the waters, and the marketing and sales folks who are trying to sell those systems, guys like Rocco, they aren't helping matters. So I thought we'd spend today's episode talking about the different fields of construction software and what they are and who are the players in each of those markets. So, Rocco, before we get into, definitions, right? How much growth have you seen in the construction software industry in the last few years? And do you think it's going to keep growing that way?
Yeah, there's definitely growth that's happening, and it's an industry that's been lagging for many years. So it's a tug and pull between adopting the new technology and getting bleep done, right? I mean because adopting that new technology can slow you down, so it's definitely a big tug and pull, but you can't live in the Stone Ages. I mean, the technology is there to help you advance and get stuff done a lot quicker. So people are definitely making the time for it. It's a difficult balance.
Yeah, it is not an easy transition. All right. So the first area that I kind of want to cover here today is the concept of CPM, or construction project management software. And these are large scale systems for handling all aspects of your jobs, right? From budgeting to awarding contracts and RFIs, even time entry and tracking for your employees and subcontractors. And there are a few real big name players in that market today, right? Notably Procore, Viewpoint, Builder Trend, and more recently, the Autodesk Construction Cloud has really kind of come on, and they're moving heavily into that market as well. And these are all great systems, right? But what is important to keep in mind here is that they are for project management, the day-to-day documentation, reporting, and billing concerns, related to an active construction project. A system like Procore, which, we're a certified partner for, by the way. They have amazing tools for, controlling every aspect of the construction process. And it even has the ability to, integrate and share data with your accounting and inventory systems. And I think that's both a good and a bad thing for today's conversation, because the integrations are, I think, what causes a lot of the confusion, right? Procore and Construction Cloud, things like that, they often get confused with ERP, or Enterprise Resource Planning Systems. And they are not at all the same thing, right? ERP systems are really meant for running your company, not your projects, right? Though, they can be useful and used at the project level as well. But at their heart, ERPs are accounting and cost-driven software, right? They're used by large companies for time management, cost projections, right? Equipment and inventory management, personnel processes, similar things along those lines. And yeah, they can be adapted somewhat for to use for a CPM process, but not really well, right? Just like, a project management system can emulate some of the ERP functions. Again, not very well, but they can do it. When you think about it, systems that you guys probably have heard of, like Sage and Dynamics and Epicor, right? These are ERP systems. And honestly, they shouldn't be used for project management. It's really not their area of expertise, right? Even though the sales and the marketing people will tell you and promise you otherwise. Oh, we do it all. You only one system, our system, and it takes care of everything. Not true. And look, and by the same token, right, going the other way, trying to force your project management system like Procore or the Construction Cloud to handle your accounting processes, right? It's also going to give you terrible results, no matter what the sales folks or their website says. Okay. So Rocco, do you find that a lot of our clients don't understand the difference between, CPM and ERP? Or do you think that sometimes they're just trying to get an all-in-one system to save themselves some cash?
We work small all the way up to large firms, and the meat and potatoes of the customers that we work with are more in the medium-sized firms. So I think that they understand it, but they're very skeptical of the larger systems being able to do everything from A to Z, like you say, So there's always there's always big concerns around that.
Yeah. And it should be. It's something that folks should be aware of, and that's why we're having this conversation today. So look, I think another area where a lot of people get confused by the construction software terminologies is in the difference between a progress tracking system and a field documentation system. These are two completely different processes that really a lot of times just get lumped together. Look, construction progress tracking. This is when you take a laser scan of a construction site and you compare it against the initial design plans, right, to get a rough idea of your percentage complete to date. In other words, right, you can use the scan to tell you that, hey, you've built all the walls and the MEP has been put in up to the second floor, and that accounts for 35% of your construction project and cost. Right? It's great. It's a helpful little thing, but it's just that's what it's giving you. Field documentation processes, on the other hand, right? That's taking the same laser scan data and using it to identify and document what items are installed, right? and you usually do this prior to closing up walls and ceilings and so on. It just lets you know that, hey, yeah, the plumbing's in and this is in and that's in. And I think that because both of these systems are making use of scan data, right, that folks assume the software supporting each process, it's the same thing. And it's really not, right? Systems on the market, like Propeller is out there, right, for progress tracking. And you have, Plan Radar, right, for documenting field installations. They're really solid systems. But I think that both of them, right, their messaging is often vague, right, and it can lead to confusion because the industry hasn't really settled on formal titles for all these processes yet, right? I'm calling, field documentation and so on. This is just how we talk about them in house. They're not nationally recognized industry standards, right? And we need to get there. Because we don't have formal titles for these, it makes it tough for people to decide, which software is right for them. Right. And I think that's also really hard on an honest salesperson, right? Like poor Rocco here, who have to spend time explaining these differences to everyone that they talk to, because I think a lot of sales and marketing people like that overlap, right? They see it as a tool because they can use it to start conversations, right? And they feel that, if they get you on the phone and they're talking to you because you're not quite sure what their system does, that's good, because then they can convince you, right, that you do need their specific product. Even if it's not what you thought it was and is what you're intending, theirs is better and more important than the one you thought you wanted, right? Which is, not to be mean to Rocco, but that's way too many salespeople for me. And that's why I don't like salespeople and don't talk to them on the phone. So half the time I don't even talk to Rocco in the office, but what can you do? All right, so that's enough abusing Rocco. Let's take a quick break, all right, so we can hear from today's sponsor. Right, and when we get back, I want to get into some more of these construction software processes. Right, so stand by, folks. We'll be back in just a little bit with more of the CADDle Call podcast. All right, everybody. Today we are our own sponsor. This is Jim and Rocco with Zentech Consultants. And what do we want to talk to the folks about today, Rocco?
We're going to talk about how to make barbecue meatballs. How does that sound, Jim?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So we're here to talk about our Procore services. We are Procore certified consultants here. So, Jim, what kind of services do we offer?
So when it comes to your Procore software, we're here to help you guys with just about everything you need, from getting it set up, configuring it to your needs, importing your client database and your previous contracts, structuring reports, or even just helping you guys on the daily with the the workflow and the things that you have to do on a regular basis in terms of timesheets, and really just about anything from, like we said, setup and configuration all the way through advanced training for all of your staff on how to use Procore in the method and the way that works best for your firm. So, Rocco, if folks need a little bit of help with Procore, how do they reach us?
Yeah, you can reach us. Hit up our website. We have a new website. It's zentechconsultants.net. That's ZENTEK consultants.net. Or give us a call, 866-824-4459. Or drop us an email, sales@zentechconsultants.net.
All right, and if you call now, Rocco will tell you how to make meatballs. All right, folks, we'll talk to you later. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the CADDle Call podcast. We're talking today about the different types of software and processes, I guess, that are available for construction people out in the market these days, and some of the misunderstandings around them. And in this half, I want to talk about another big cross between two seemingly similar software types and processes. And I also want to get into an entirely new type of construction technology process that I think is really important and that I want to make sure everybody really understands. Right? So let's start with the cross, right? So the next big confusion that I see all the time on my conversation with our clients is that, folks not understanding the difference between building information models, BIM, right, and clash detection analysis. Look, this one, I guess, is particularly understandable as they're almost always using the same exact underlying 3D model, right? But, the takeaway here is that the end goal of each of these systems is entirely different, right? BIM and the BIM data is for developing and extracting detailed information about the constructed items on your job, right, with different levels of detail. And those are created in systems like Revit or BricsCAD BIM, and then that data it's accessed out in the field, right, using tools like Autodesk BIM 360 or Trimble's Connected Construction. And that the BIM for construction is very often about getting the materials, right, the sizes of objects, the make, the model, the manufacturer. It's getting that information needs for ordering and installation. And clash detection, on the other hand, it's a tool for finding conflict, right? It's taking different systems within your system and finding conflict between them. And that's where you start to use tools like Navisworks or Revisto. And they're designed to inspect, right, the 3D modeled system, right? Systems like your structural steel, right, or your piping or your HVAC, your conduits, and et cetera, pretty much anything you need. And it inspects those in the virtual space, and they let you know when those systems are going to either collide with or even if they're just getting too close to each other, right, for workability. And that's really vital information for your BIM and VDC managers, right, and early detection of those conflicts with the conflict checking. It can save you just a ton of money, right? But I think it's important to understand that that's a very different software system and different process than a full scale BIM modeler controller type of software, right? So Rocco, do you find that a lot of folks that you talk to think of BIM as a single thing, and they don't really necessarily get the difference between say the 3D model and the BIM model and the clash detection setup?
I think a lot of people understand the difference. It comes down to who's who's applying all of this quote unquote stuff, right?
The
And
stuff. That's
who's
the technical term. The stuff.
yeah.
Okay, just checking. Hi, we're Jim and Rocco. We sell stuff. That's what we do.
And things.
And tings, stuff and tings. I like it. But the tings are only seasonal.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut off. It just struck me as funny.
Yeah, so I do. I think people understand it. It's just not everybody's deploying it. Again, it comes down to availability, time, and money, right? And so the larger firms are more heavily invested in this kind of stuff,
This stuff.
versus the smaller firms try to keep up with it, but they're always behind the eight ball.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So look, I think another area that seems to throw construction folks, right? It's the difference between the two other systems here. The concept of reality capture versus QA/QC scanning, right? And they're again similar but different in key components, right? A reality capture tool like Avir, it takes a point cloud scan of your construction project, and it delivers a 3D model for you, right, with integrated photography, right, that you can do, you can do virtual walkthroughs. It's available out on the web. You can see areas of concern from any level and kind of, walk around objects. And it's a great visualization, discussion, and communication tool. Great stuff, right? Those are reality capture tools. A QA/QC scan tool, right? It's very similar in that you're using the point cloud data as the driver, I guess, of the system for a QA/QC. But a QA/QC system like Reconstruct is out there on the market. Right? They're basically overlaying your cloud scan on top of your BIM model data. Right? And the idea behind the QA/QC is to give you a visual representation of where differences might be. Right? And again, that's also a very nice tool for the construction process, though I will say that it does still require somebody to go through like every inch of your model looking for those differences. But it's a tool. It's a useful tool. And that's what the QA/QC does, right? And I think, the idea of scanning and using point cloud data, right, for a variety of different construction processes as you're building your site is really game changing. And I really do think that it's just starting to come into its own. I think, the laser scanning process has been around, probably for, a decade or so reliably. But the file sizes and the hardware limitations, especially early on, kind of limited its widespread use until just the last few years when we've really got the technology to deal with them effectively. So, Rocco, how many of our clients are getting involved in using point cloud data on their projects, right? Is it still only a small portion of their projects, or is it becoming common on every job?
Yeah, it's again, it depends on the size of the firm, but it's interesting because you guys who listen to us know that we work with a number of software solutions, and we bring folks on from all over the industry. And when we have one-on-one conversations with them, and we ask them, hey, do you really find that a lot of people are using this kind of technology? Are they really taking advantage of point clouds? The the reality is deflation, right? It's, well, yeah, there are people that use it, but not a lot, and that plays down to what we see in the real world. I don't hear of a lot of people making use of it. A lot of people are interested in it, they follow it, they think it's cool stuff again, but I don't see a ton of people using it.
Yeah, it's. I think there's a little bit more, but I think I see a little bit more because it's taken a lot of early adoption, particularly the high capacity laser scanning in the civil world. There's a lot because there's nothing rectangular or straight, and measuring things in the civil space is always a lot harder than it is inside of a building. So a lot of the surveying firms have become at some level involved with point cloud scanning and data. So I see a little bit more of it now. But yeah, absolutely. Within the true construction space, not nearly as many folks as I think really should be using it. Which kind of makes a very nice segue, right? Kind of into the last thing that I really wanted to talk about today. And like I told you guys earlier, right? There's a construction process that's entirely new to the industry, right? And I think it's for the construction world, it's such a massively game-changing concept that I want to make sure that we talk about it kind of on its own, right? So it doesn't get confused with any of the other construction software processes that we've talked about today. And honestly, this particular topic I'm about to get into here is kind of the whole reason we did this discussion today. I really want our listeners to fully understand, I guess, the concept of what we're calling variance reporting, right? Variance reporting and how it can benefit you, right, as our listener, right? And I don't want you to blend it with other items that we've talked about already. So let's kind of explain what it is. Variance reporting. It's the process of taking a laser scan of your construction, right? Same point cloud data, same scan information we've talked about before. But the difference now is having a software process where you can take that 3D laser scan and compare it against the original design from the architect, the engineer, et cetera. Right? And then you can take either in 2D or 3D, right? Whether you have a 2D design or a 3D BIM model, right, for the design, right? Take that, compare it against the scan, and a system, right? Variance reporting system will tell you what the real world processes have been incorrectly installed and how far out of place they are, right? Now, let me stress that again, right? Because people confuse that, I think, a little with that QA/QC process. Variance reporting does the comparison process automatically, right? It's removing the human process, right? The human error and the potential for missing things, right, from the entire setup, right? And it does it because it's a computer, it's computer driven, it's software. It's going to give you a level of accuracy in things that are out of place that our human eyes never could. So it puts it just head and shoulders above that QA/QC process. So look, the idea is that, as you're building your job, you're taking ongoing scans of your site, right, as it's being built. Right? And, preferably you're going to do it for every trade as they're being installed. And as they finish installation, you can get a report showing any offset, any displacement, any misalignment before those errors start to compound and delay your job, right? And that can lead to millions and millions of dollars in changes and rework. Look, if an anchor bolt for your base plate for your structural steel is a half inch out of place, that throws the steel off down the entire length of your warehouse, and by the time you get to the end, you're 4 inches out of place. And then you put that in. If you didn't catch it immediately, you got to go back in and rip out all your structural steel and pull all the base plates or start cutting and customizing things, which, it balloons out of control really fast in that rework side. So look, the only system that I know of on the market today, all right, that can really handle variance reporting, it's Solid Space, right? And that's spelled SOLIDSPAC 3. And then we've talked about this previously on the show, right? And Zentek is a Solid Space partner, and we've partnered with them to bring variance reporting to our construction clients because we see it as a major game changer, in VDC and project management. I mean, honestly, right, Racker, we can't call Solid Space a software because you're not
No.
actually, you're not purchasing or even subscribing to anything. There's no real software. The software is run by us on the back end. All that you need to do in the construction world is get the scan done, right? And that seems if you don't have the capacity to do that, Zentek, we can help you do that too, all right? And you get your scan done of your work, and then you just give it to us, right, along with the original design drawings for the project, and that's it. You're done. There's nothing for you, right? The Solid Space system is going to generate detailed reports with full graphics and dimensions, right, showing you exactly where the issues are on your site. And here's what I think is just staggering about dealing with Solid Space is it does that, right? Once we give that information, the scan and the design information, it returns the report back to you in under 12 hours. Right? So think about that for a minute, right? You submit the day's scanning, right, from your work. What was installed today? We scanned it. Here's the scan. You hand that to Zentek, and you will have the variance report in your hand the next morning, probably before the crews even start showing up on site, right? So that means that you can make changes instantly. Say, hey, that pipe's in the wrong place. Got to move it, cut it, move it back 4 inches. It's going to interfere with the steel in the next phase, right? Whatever it may be. And the thing that I really love about this, right, is that you are not paying any fees at all for the software, right? You're only paying for the report, right? That's it. There's no installation. There's no hardware requirements. There's no IT. There's no training. There's no downtime as your people learn a new product. Nothing. It has nothing to do with you. All you do is give us the data and say, hey, Jim, get me a report. Cool. That's all you pay for. That's it. Charge you for the report, and you get your report within 12 hours. Right? So, you're getting the information that you need exactly when you need it, and you get to ignore the software entirely. And look, to me, this is such a simple yet vital process that I think it needs to become industry standard on every single construction project, right? So, look, folks, I know I'm sounding a little preachy and salesy here, but I just want you guys to think about how much time and money and aggravation, right, that simple report can save you. Literally hundreds of thousands of dollars and thousands of man hours on every single job, all right? So, Rocco, right? I know that the concept of variance reporting is new, and that a lot of folks haven't even heard it or don't understand it when we tell it to them. But when you do take the time and they give you the opportunity to explain it to them, what kind of reaction are you getting from construction folks?
Yeah, there's definitely interest. I mean, we're continuing to build and educate folks as to what this is truly about. But at the end of the day, we kind of started off the show talking about the lack of skilled labor too, right? And so companies are looking for ways to be more efficient, more productive, with less, and always cost conscious, right? In light of how expensive materials have gotten. So this is a way to reduce cost and to work with limited resources, and to make sure that things are done right from the very beginning. Right? Nobody wants to do things 2 and 3 times. That's, especially in construction, that's time and money. So there's definitely interest.
Nice. So that was well said. So I think for a change, for once, I'm going to let Rocco actually have the last word on today's show. So there you go, Rocco. See, you say I never give you the last word. Say goodbye to nice people, Rocco.
Goodbye, people. This is the last word.
Except for We will catch you next time on the CADDle Call podcast.
All right, everybody. Today's CADDle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from y'all.